coming out of the wilderness.
I see you've got my my web page, home page behind you.
Do you like that?
That's new.
Well, it's just nice to see the many faces of Hugh Cornwell.
Are you speaking from Scotland?
I am in a coastal town called Arbroath, just along the coast from Dundee.
Arbroath?
Yes.
I know Arbroath.
No, so it's good to touch base with you, and obviously you've got another tour coming up. So, how's the preparation for that been going?
Well, it's been a bit stop and start because we've been doing regular rehearsals, but the last three have been plagued with illness. First, I got a terrible fever and had to cancel on the morning, and then the following week my bass player got COVID, and then this week there was due to be one, but I had a terrible cold, so it's been a bit stop-start. But we'll catch up in beginning of January. I'm sure there'll be no problem.
And what's rehearsals like? Is that typically just a modest studio, or do you do it at your residence, or what is a rehearsal?
Well, the preliminary stuff we do just in a bog standard place, and then closer to the just before the dates we do a full scale production thing with a lighting designer and stuff. So it goes up in steps, you know.
Right. No, I mean, I wasn't sure. Obviously, you've scaled back from many years ago. So I just wondered what it was.
What do you mean? So what do you mean scaled back? I don't know.
Well, obviously, a full tour with the full big band would have been, different from what you're doing with just three members in a band.
Oh, I see what you mean. Well, at the beginning, I was under this misapprehension that I had to have loads of musicians and I had to have keyboards.
Yes.
Because that's the environment I'd been in for so long. And then I realised over a period of time that wasn't necessarily the way to go. And it wasn't necessarily the way for me to create my own different bag, basically, yes, from the band. And so, and at one stage I had two guitars, and then an accident happened, and the second guitarist cut his. He was. Can you believe this? He was doing some washing up in the morning, and broke a glass and cut his finger open. Wow. Under the water, and then it was his left hand, and he was right-handed player, so he couldn't. So he rang me up and said, I can't do the show because I've had an accident. So we did it with just the three, and from that point on, it just became a fait accompli, really.
No, I mean it does work. I mean, obviously, I do have history of your solo stuff as well, which I think is great. I mean, actually last night, just going through your whole back catalogue, and I found a real consistency right across the board.
Oh, well, thank you. That's nice. That's very nice. Well, what we're doing with this tour is, instead of I've been a bit apologetic over the last few years about my solo catalogue, so I've been playing two sets, one my solo catalogue and then a Stranglers set afterwards. But I decided that my management and myself, we decided that I've been doing stuff solo for so long now, it's a time to stop being apologetic about it.
Yeah.
So this time we're going to like a festival format, which is what I do in a festival, which is I concentrate more on my solo career, and then put in a Strangler song every regularly into the set, and that way it's more testament, it's more honest, and it's more testament to where I am at the moment.
No, actually, you've probably hit on something there, because I think that is the better way for me to hear it as well, because if you're used to hearing Dave's keyboards, etc., and the full sort of Stranglers thing, when you play 10 Stranglers songs in a row, then it becomes obvious that it's not sound. So, but when you just intersperse the odd track, then yeah, that's a better fit in my mind.
Yeah, I'd never thought of it like that. You're absolutely right. And of course, some of these old songs work better than others, with this format. What a lot of people aren't aware of is that at the beginning of the Stranglers' career, we started off as a trio, a power trio, bass, drums and guitar. And I wasn't playing much lead guitar then, so I was filling in with rhythm, really. So a lot of the songs on the first two albums were actually conceived as a trio. And then when Dave joined, before him there was a guy called Hans Vermely, who played keyboards as well. What they did was they filled in, and added their keyboards, but you could quite easily strip the keyboards off, and the song stood on its own three legs, basically, to say, if you know what I mean, bass, drums and guitar. So a lot of people don't realise that. So the earlier stuff works really well as a trio, because that's how it was conceived.
So how's the song selection gone for this tour?
Yeah, it's a minefield because it's 10 Stranglers albums to choose from, and I'm doing about 35% Stranglers.
You've got two recent albums, Ish, Monster and Moments of Madness. So
yes, well, I can't play too many Moments of Madness songs because that's the current album, and we don't want to too many of the songs in the set. So we've got four songs from Moments of Madness, 3 from Monster, and then we visit all the albums going back to Wolf actually, and Nosferatu. So there's quite a potpourri of songs and styles,
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned Nosferatu. That struck such a chord with me. Because my own musical development, I was 13 in '77, so I grabbed the Stranglers early, and I loved that. I wasn't such a big fan of Clash and Pistols, and then '78 with the Black and White album. But then when you brought in Nosferatu, I was leaning towards the post-punk darker side, and Devo and Killing Joke and stuff like that. And that album, I think, is just glorious.
Well, I mean, I'll tell you, it's taken a long, big bug. We're doing that regularly, and that took us nearly 2 years of religiously rehearsals to get that working live. And we pulled out a couple of others from that album as well, which will probably be featured as encores rather than every night.
So we'll just make sure we give you a big encore when you come up to Scotland. And
Exactly. Then you'll get the Nosferatu. But there's a couple from Beyond Elysian Fields. There's a couple from Wolf. There's a couple from. There's 3 from Hoover Dam.
Yeah.
It was quite challenging to make the selection. But we're going out in the spring with in Germany with as guests with Magnum, which are a heavy metal band, so that has informed my choice. You see, because you think, well, for that audience, I better tailor make my set. So I've lent on that. So this set's a bit heavier. Than it would normally be, in line for that to come later, you see.
Just mentioning that word heavier, you've always had a very edgy, thin sound from the Telecaster. You didn't lean on effects at all. You've always had that dry kind of sound. So I just noticed in Moments of Madness you were just employing a bit more effects in your sound. So is that a natural progression or something you did?
Well, it's not really conscious. Some of the songs have got a bit of effect, but I wouldn't say. A lot of them are just downright dirty, basic, Telecaster, which is more what I'd rather have no effects than just guitar, But because there's only 3 of us, I have to delve into the box of tricks to sometimes, not always, to sometimes fatten out the guitar sound.
I'm just looking at your dates here, and in Germany you've got quite a run, sort of 4, 5, 6, 8. So you've got one day off there, and then 9, 10.
There's
12.
about a dozen shows with Magnum, and then we're going to go to. Then we're doing Holland afterwards, I think. We're by ourselves. Yeah, and then. Well, it's taken. The album's been over a year now, and it's taken that amount of time for it to get around the internet and for people to appreciate it. So next year's going to be mainly on the road. We've already got Asia and Australasia and Asia and all sorts of other places on being arranged right now. So I won't be at home very much next year.
That's one question I was going to ask you. How do you manage to stay gig fit? Because obviously you're away from home, you're at hotels.
How do I manage to stay what?
Gig fit. If you're traveling.
Oh, gig fit. Well, it's a constant struggle. When I'm not touring, I'm constantly trying to stay fit and a good diet, and just to make sure that I can keep it going. And and as the years go by, it becomes tougher and tougher to do it, and that's why people end up stopping doing shows. The most amazing guy who defied all that and defied nature was in fact John Mayall and the Blues Breakers.
Yeah.
He was still. I'm not sure if he's still with us. Forgive me, John, if you are, but he may have just passed away. But he's been gigging in his 90s. Wow. Talk about the Rolling Stones still playing at 80. Well, John Mayall's the father of it all. He has been gigging regularly into his early 90s. So how does he manage to do it?
I just wondered how on earth you managed to do 10, 20 dates in a row.
Well, you get onto a roll. It's the first few that are tough. Bit like if you're a runner and you haven't run, taking 6 months off, and you start running again. It's the first dusting off the cobwebs and getting. Once you get into it after a week or so, then it's pretty. Then you're on an even keel, as long as you can avoid all these horrible bugs that are out there, because then then God knows what can happen then.
And one thing that obviously I've seen you a few times, and I've met you a couple of times, and you ever get overzealous fans coming at you at the end of gigs?
Overzealous?
Yeah.
I don't know. How would I judge overzealous?
Just a bit keen and want you to sign everything and just hanging on to your every.
The thing is, I can't stand there signing old Stranglers records for an hour, So I do make a deal with them now. I used to do it, being a kind-hearted soul that I am, but it's got to the point now it gets ridiculous. So I say, listen, you buy something new, then I'll sign something old, one for one.
I remember
they seem to buy into that, so that's working.
That's good, because I do remember you saying that at Forfar. It was quite funny. There was a few people just with the Strangler stuff, and they'd obviously not heard any of your solo material.
Yeah.
And you're.
I can't expect them to be aware of everything I've done since I left the band, but they could make the effort a little bit. Yeah. Onwards and upwards. I've got a new album idea ready, to work on. Once this next touring year is out of the way, I can start thinking about the next album.
And that process, I've obviously been doing a bit of back reading. So I read that rather than just going into the studio 100% complete with everything worked out, you've been a little bit looser. But so is this new album concept, is it going to be 100% you again, or just with the?
Well, I don't know. I don't know. We'll start work. I'll work on it as I do preliminaries with my engineer my genius engineer Phil Andrews, who used to play keyboards for me when on Guilty, when I first left the band. So I'll go in with Phil, and I'll pull out some ideas, and we'll see how it goes, and we'll take it from there. I don't want to make any distinct, decisions about it, because it's got a life of its own. Once you start laying stuff down, it really takes on its own life, and you can't be restricting it. You've got to think carefully about what you're going to do with it. It's a delicate thing, making a new album, new songs. It's like a new piece of life, it's like a new being, which you're spiriting into the world. So you have to be very careful how you treat it.
I mean, I did notice, certainly with Monster, you picked a thread, and what you developed there was pretty clever. If you didn't dig too deeply, you were just letting the songs wash across you. But the more you dug into it, the more you got out of it, if you know what I mean.
Well, and also with that, I mean, a few of the later songs I wrote for that, I was helped by the idea that there was a concept, so it helped with the writing of, like, the Doochie Coochie Man was one of the last ones. Yes. And the Attack of the Major Sevens was another late one. And it helped me to know, these songs would be interesting if they were about somebody or something in particular. And so it helped to have that border,
Yeah, and I guess COVID, that maybe influenced your last album?
Yeah, I mean, without COVID, I probably wouldn't have Moments of Madness, because it was the enforced lockdown. So I was stuck at my studio. That was the reason for doing the album. What am I going to do? Well, I can't sit around doing nothing. I can't play shows. So why don't I make a new album? And so the whole thing was a product of COVID. So I can't say COVID, honestly, I can't say COVID treated me badly. I mean, I was one of the fortunate few, but a lot of creative people said the same thing, that the enforced isolation and it helped them to focus their creativity, and it certainly did for me.
Yeah, no, I think you're correct. The true artists would make the most of it rather than just stagnate.
Yeah, absolutely. What more could you ask? What more could you ask for?
And it's maybe giving everybody an opportunity just to step back a little bit, and since we've had so much free time, just to enjoy that a little bit more.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, absolutely.
And what I would say is the opportunities that COVID gave the musicians and artists like that, how would you feel dipping into the film industry? I've noticed that if I've been looking for a movie to watch during the evening, I've noticed that the films made during COVID times, obviously you were restricted by the lockdown, where there's only maybe one or two people and they're in space, or there's some dialogue going on, but I can tell, I say, oh, this is a COVID movie. So do you think COVID wasn't a good thing for the film industry? Obviously.
Well, a mixed bag, I think. I think the word is it's been a mixed bag. It definitely hasn't been good for careers, because people get on a roll, just like when you're on a roll with writing songs. You get on a roll, and then I can't wait to start work on the next album, and it's almost like a trilogy, not a trilogy, what's one more than a trilogy? 4, like Totem and Taboo, Monster, Moments of Madness, and then the next one. It's like and when you get coitus interruptus, from COVID, it can't help your digestive flow of, especially with films, because they take so much longer to make than and music and records. So there's that side of it. What are the I can't see what the upsides are at the moment.
Yeah.
I mean, I think everyone that I know in the film business is so bloody pleased and relieved to be getting back to work, you know.
And I must admit, I didn't know too much about your podcast. It wasn't until I started digging for this, and then it just opened up. It was like a massive avenue. You know,
What's that?
Your podcast, Demille.
Oh, Mr Demille.
Yeah,
I'm just working on a program about James Coburn. Do you remember James Coburn?
Yes, I do. Yes.
Well, I've just been delving into his films he's made, and I saw a fabulous film last night called Dead Heat on a Merry-Go-Round. It was a complete failure, but it was a great movie, and he had a very interesting career, and I'm glad I got the idea to do a program on him, because he's, you see, he had this remarkable ability to raise the kudos of any film he appeared in. As soon as you see he's in it, you know, it suddenly makes the film better than it would have been without him. And I suddenly realised this, and then I was looking back at some comments from critics, and there it was. Someone, a big film critic, said exactly the same thing that I'd realised, and I was pleased at that. So I think it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. Well, anyway, sorry, I digress.
No, I mean, when I think about him now, he did have a very confident aura about him. You know, he was a very strong character.
Yeah, he was a dude, all right, big dude.
I mean, like I say, I've been digging into your podcasts, and I just wondered. Obviously, you've been putting a lot of them on the net, but where on earth did you? Was it just before COVID, about a year before COVID? You kind of kicked it off.
Yeah. Well, it was called Soundtracks FM before.
Okay.
It had an alternative existence called Soundtracks FM, and then I hadn't protected all the names of variations from Soundtracks FM, and somebody stole the gear off me, so I had to change track, and that's why it became Mr Demille FM.
Okay. And obviously, I mean, when I had a look right through the 116 podcasts you've done.
There's a lot of episodes. Yeah, I need some more interviews. I need to speak. If any film people, film actors, Robbie Coltrane, no, not Robbie Coltrane, the other Scottish actors. Ewan McGregor. I'd be willing to. I'll go anywhere to interview you. You know, because I need more interviews. I did. Obviously,
I was kind of skimming last night when I was looking through them, and I saw your Blondie interview, and you know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, and one thing that hit me was I did listen to a fair bit of the De Palma. Podcast.
Oh yeah, Brian De Palma. What an interesting career he's had.
Well, amazing. But do you know what I picked up on? See at the end when you were talking about his quotes, and when he said, "I've never been accepted as a conventional artist," and I kind of thought, do you know what? You could almost be talking about yourself.
Well, maybe that's the appeal of him to me.
and then the end bit was basically, judged to the fashion of the day, and that changed.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So again, I thought about you when I, obviously heard that as well.
Well, everything we do is a mirror of who we are, so that doesn't surprise me at all.
No, I just wanted to talk about collaborators. Obviously, you've had a few in the past. Is there any collaborations coming up in the near future, or is anyone you want to work?
Well, I've just completed one, but I can't say anything about it because it's a bit before the the cart before the horse sort of thing. Okay. But I have just completed another collaboration, which will be in the public domain in the spring. A musical musical collaboration.
Okay. Yeah. Oh well.
Yeah.
I'll hear.
Very interesting one. Oh, and could I give a plug to the Primitives, who are going to be opening the show for for me on this tour in January. They've been going quite a while themselves.
Absolutely,
and,
yes.
And I think that'll be a good match. Good matchup.
I mean, I did see the Primitives and then Magnum, and I thought, well, there's quite a
yeah.
There are
absolutely.
a lot of.
I don't mind playing with anybody. I mean, listen. I mean, Jimi Hendrix opened for the Who at one stage. When he first started in the UK. So, it doesn't matter who you can't say, oh, I couldn't open for them or they couldn't follow me. I mean, who cares? You just it's a gig. Do it. It's a gig.
And I've always said to people, my daughter's 25, and I've always said to her, you need to try and go to as many gigs as you can when you're young, because I'm so fortunate. I was able to attend lots of gigs.
Yeah, you never know what you're going to like and what you're going to not like. You just don't know. You can't make your mind up before you have a listen. Listen, we got to wrap up.
Absolutely. Thanks very much for your time, Hugh.
Sorry to cut you off in mid-flow. All right. Well, look, have a great Christmas and look forward to the tour.
You too, and I'll see you.
I'll be looking forward to it.
I'll see you in Glasgow.
All right, I'll make it a date. I'll see you there, Raymond.
I'll be the guy with the camera. Just don't delete the pictures. Don't delete the pictures.
Okay, man. Take care.
Take care. Bye now.
Bye.
You hope it's gonna save your life. What will you do to restore your sight? What when your face falls apart? Have you got enough time? Have you got enough time? Have you got enough